Hey everyone, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench. Welcome back. Here we are now, part 9 of this build of this lovely little Takom 1/35 scale Apache, and what a model it's turning out to be. It really is something special. As I've said so many times, the instructions leave a bit to be desired, but the actual model itself is lovely. So, what have I done off camera? I fitted these doors, as you know, and I've gone round with some Mr. Surfacer. I need to do some more work with Mr. Surfacer there by the look of it. So I've got to put some Mr. Surfacer around the front of those doors there. So I fitted those doors with it all clamped up and everything. I fitted these little radar parts here. You can see one there, those there, and then the same on the tail back here. Those two there. There's one there and one on the other side. There's a little clear light in the middle, which I've painted the back of that silver. I've also painted the backs of these lights, one there and one there. Painted those silver, and I've put the masts on them from the art scale kit set. These here and these here, I'm going to, and on the thing on the front, the forward-looking thingamajig, I'm going to have to use masking fluid on those. So yeah, all looking good, all coming together. And pushing forward. I've also put some masking tape over the exhaust just in case I forget. So yeah, I'm going to have to put some Mr. Surface around there. I've got some little bits to fit on there as well. On my little A parts, A something or other. They've got to go on there. I'm showing them there without them on. That's weird. Yeah, they are they're here somewhere. I've seen them. A5, there we go. Little part there, A5. It's showing them there without them. They tell you there to put them on. So don't forget those. There's A5 to go on. Now when you see it out here, it says 3D part times 4, 3D part times 4. Looking at the back of that. Now I've done some work on this, so I'm going to show you what I've done. You've also got these here as well. And what it is, it's tiny little spacers. And these are like plates that are going to go over these grill areas. They cover these grill areas, and obviously they're to stop projectiles going through, whatever. So what the 3D part is, it comes on this little frame here, okay, and when you get it, it comes with it's all printed, and it's like that. It's like one solid block. So I've gone around with a pair of snips, remove the actual frame off the top, and then come in with snips, and I don't know if you can see this, but the actual part is on the end of like a stalk. So what I've done is cut the parts off at the bottom of the stalk, or near the bottom of the stalk, and then with tweezers glued them onto the back of the part. And you can see here what I've done. So if I pick up one of these, pick up the big square, and that'll make it easier for you to see it. There we go. And you can see what I've done is with that long stalk, I'm able to pick up the tweezers, dip the end in some glue, and then stick it on the back of the PE part. And then all we have to do, I may as well do it with this one, is come along. In fact, I'm not going to be able to do this on camera because I need to do it on a magnifier. Is come along and just nip off the sprues, and then you will end up with something that looks a little bit like that. So you can see you've got these little tiny protrusions on the back, and there you go. So there we are, and then that is literally going to stick on the surface like that. Okay, so you've now got like a disc which is raised. So what we're going to have to do is, in all the locations where these things go, we'll have to make sure we've painted black. We're going to have to nip them all off, paint the backs of them all black so we don't see any bright brass bits, and then we're going to have to stick them on and then prime them all again afterwards. And what I'll do on the front face is I'll put some etch primer on there. I've been using this stuff, which seems to work very well. This is the VMS Metal Prep 4K. It seems to work very well. You brush it on, and just after 30 minutes you can spray it, and it seems to work. I mean, you can see this one here that we did earlier. I've brushed it on there, and it sort of shrinks and becomes invisible. But it does seem to work very well indeed. So there we go. So I'm going to get these cut off, get the backs of them painted black. We also got our tail rotor here to be painted. We've got this to be painted. We've got our tail wheel assembled there. That's a pretty straightforward assembly actually once you get to it. The instructions make it look a lot less clear than it really is. If you remember, I was saying I can't see where this part is possible, going to end up. Well, it's got a location there, it's got a location there, and 2 locations there. So there's only one place it can go, really. I've also sanded down these legs. They're very, very tight going into the fuselage, so I've sanded them down so they fit in a lot easier now. But we'll get that all painted and everything before we go forward. So what I'm going to do with these, so I can actually have these protected and maybe use them again if I lose any, drop any, break any, whatever. Put some tape around there, and then that will keep those in there safe. Okay, so I'll get some Mr. Surface around there. I'm going to get those little A parts on there, trim these off, get some painting done, and then I'll come back. There we go. As you can see, they're on, and they've had their coat of I've just noticed that stuff is actually puddled. I'll have to see if that shrinks back when it dries. It's actually I've put the metal etch primer on there, which I showed you just now, and it seems to have kind of puddled, but they're glued on with super glue now, so they're all nice and solid. I have to be careful not to knock them, because they'll probably break really easily. They're like literally held on with 4 pin drop size locations. You know, there's no holes or anything, they just sat on the surface. So, but they're on there, that's the main thing, so I have to be really careful picking it up. We are now getting to the point where we're going to have to start fitting antenna grab rails and stuff like that, and it's just going to be impossible to pick up. We've got all this stuff going on the bottom here. You can see all of that is just going to be so flimsy. So what we'll have to do there, I think, is get a clamp, and we'll put a clamp on here like so. So I'm going to put it further down like that, and now we can stand it upside down, you see. So that's what the big clamps are handy for. Everybody keeps asking me, these are from a company called Rebel Hobby in Sweden. So there you go. So then I'm going to do all this, because that's going to be the least likely to get knocked off. And I think then we're going to have to start adding all these little bits and pieces and greeblies, because it's got to go on there, hasn't it? So let's get that done. So I'll get all these bits on here. I don't know why I just shut the instructions. I'll get all these bits on. You can see I've gone through the manual and marked off all the bits that need to be done with red. And I'll get those disc brakes on as well, I think. Sorry, not the disc brakes, the calipers, and then we'll have to paint those discs as well. That piece there I might leave off, because that is super flimsy. But we shall see. In fact, it might not be a good idea to put all this on before we fit the tail wheel, because obviously when we put it on the ground it's going to get knocked off. So the tail wheel is here in its flimsy representation. That's just going to go in there like so. Okay, so that sits in there, and then we've got there it is, we've got a little shock absorber type thing that goes on the top. So that's going to go into there and into there. So as you can see, that's all gone together nicely. So we can, it's not even straight, is it? I'm going to have to manipulate this off camera, because I can't do it and show you guys at the same time. So I'm going to get that sorted out, get it glued in, and then I'll be back. So there's all those little greeblies on, all looking very flimsy and just asking to be snapped off. But we'll just have to do our best. I'm beginning to think this is probably one of the best ways to hold the model, because you can pick it up here with no risk of breaking anything, because there's nothing flimsy around this area, so you can just keep picking it up there and not damaging anything. So it's not a bad way of actually holding the model. But I've got the rear legs in. I've put some masking tape around the end to sort of act as a foot to stop it getting damaged. And if I do knock it, it'll give it a bit of shock absorbency. But I can imagine, I can just see that getting snapped off easily. and all this here. It's crazy, 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 crazy. Just a couple of things to note on here, or just one thing to note really. This part here, E41, goes underneath E52, so fit E41 before you fit E52. You can see it there. You can see on the left hand side a little bit with the radius sort of loop on it. That's E41, and then the bit that goes over the top of it is E52, so make sure you put that one in first. That hole for that there, I had to open that up to like 0.9 so before I could get the part to fit. So remember that when you're drilling out your holes. It tells you drill 0.7, drill them all 0.7, and then when you come to if you have to open them out, you open them out. It's better to have a tight hole than a loose one, isn't it, guys? So right, because you can always open up a tight one. It's very hard to make something small fit a big hole in it, as we all know. So right, I've got some greeblies to add down there as well, which I'm not going to do quite yet. What next? The other thing I haven't done is this this stabilator, tailplane, whatever you want to call it. I need to get this done. There's something I don't like about the way they designed this. They've got this going together so it sandwiches around these two pins here. So I'm going to see if I can do something about that. I'm having a little think about a couple of things I can do. So we'll have a look at that. And the other thing is, I want to talk about these sprue connection points. A couple of people have messaged me saying they don't understand what my problem is with these sprue connection points. This is something a lot of manufacturers do, and I personally think this is great. Okay, so rather than have the sprue nib on the outside of the plastic, so you end up with a sprue nib that you have to sand off, what you have here is the sprue nib is actually going onto the surface that you're going to glue. So basically what you can do there is just literally cut your part out, just like so. Okay, and this is why I love these so much. Then you can just come along on the surface with your nippers and just nip off the sprue like that. Now if you're worried about ruining the mating faces when you sand these off, if you just get a bit of magic marker, something like this that's going to be painted like very, very dark green or black, it's okay to use marker pen. Otherwise use pencil. If it's an airliner, it's white or something, use pencil, because the ink will always come through your paint. So what we can do now is just literally sand. As you can see, I can sand until the magic marker disappears, and then I know that face is perfectly flat and the sprue nib is gone. Okay, so there we are. That's it, that easy. And those little bits of flash that you get left sticking out, you can generally just push them over and sand them off, or just leave them there, push them over like that, and then just sand them off like that. Or just leave them there and deal with them when you deal with the leading edge. But that's that dealt with. Right, so I don't have a problem with those. The ones I have a problem with, and it's only Takom that I know that do it, is like, I don't have any parts here that have it on now, unless they've done it on the rotor blades. No, they haven't. But parts like these doors on the side here, that one and the one on the other side as well, they have the mould, the tab, coming up onto the surface like that, but they have it on that side rather than on that side. It's absolutely crazy. It's like on that part there, P17, that angled piece in there. If you've got the kit, have a look. The sprue nib isn't on the back face, it's on the side, and it comes over onto the front of the part, when they could have done like they did this, just put the sprue nib on the back. It's crazy. And you've got to then sand the sprue nib away from the front face when you've got, you know, rivets and bolt detail and stuff to deal with. So so that's that done. So I'm going to get this off and look at ways of getting this done, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so all worked out. Right, what I was going to do was make up a metal shaft that goes through and have it all going in there and everything, because the way they've got the kit designed, if you look here, they would have you fit this tailplane stabilator, whatever you call it, onto there and like sandwich it around these two pins on the back of the fuselage. Well, I don't want to do that, because basically it's just crazy having that on there and then trying to work on the seams and also fit those little pieces of PE on the trailing edges. So I'd rather assemble it like this, work on the seams with that as a separate part, fit the PE and everything, and then just chuck it on. As luck has it, it's such a snug fit. You can see I've cut those pins off now where it's supposed to locate, and you can literally slide it on, and it's such a lovely fit. It basically stays in place. I mean, even without it glued together, look, it's staying in place on its own. And then you've got this great big actuator that goes in the bottom. That's going to help to hold it all together. So it's all looking good. So that's what I've done. I've cut those off so that we can glue this together. I've also removed those static dischargers from the back. They're moulded on, pathetic. They're just going to get snapped. I mean, I snapped one of them before I even got it off the bloody sprue. So they've come off, and I'll replace those with a couple of bits of wire. I've got to do some clean up on here, get these trailing edges to go together better than they do, because as you can see, they go together. There's a bit of a gap there, which we don't really want. Although I suppose it'll help a little bit to glue that, because there's photo etch to go on that trailing edge, so it doesn't need to be that sharp and crisp, I guess. But all in all, we'll get this together. In fact, I'll do it on camera. What I'll do is just hold that together like that. And there we go. That's an absolute doddle. You can see it's pulling itself apart, which is great for getting capillary action going. There we are. Careful not to get any glue on your fingers, obviously. You can always do it the Phil Flory way, which is to hold it upside down and let the glue wick up off of the brush into the seam. That's the Phil Flory method. I always like to credit other people if I'm pinching their ideas. Not everybody does, but I always try to if I can, if I remember. I mean, if you think about it, everything we learn from someone else, don't we? I mean, there's the basics, like apparently you're born with a fear of fire, aren't you? And you have an instinct like putting your arms out if you're going to fall over or something, but when it comes to things like this, skills, techniques, whatever, we all learn it from someone else, don't we? So it's good to credit those other people when we can. There we go. Oh, I also opened these holes up. They were like small dimples on the kit. The pins on here are quite long and they're 1mm, so I opened them up, and now that fits in there perfectly, like so, like that. So we'll let that dry, deal with the seams, and we've got some photo etch to glue onto the back edge. Okay, welcome back. So got the tailplane done, all glued together, done the seams, gone around the edges and everything. We've got these two bits of photo etch on here, TB2, TB3. TB2 is the thicker of the two, and it's also slightly longer because those static dischargers they go on the lower half of the tailplane. So this is the bottom half. I've drilled the holes. You can just probably make them out there. Drilled them in the ends, and I've got some 0.35 nickel silver, I think it is. Come here. I've got some there, and basically that's going to pop into that hole. Obviously it's got to be cut to length, but that'll pop into that hole just like so. And then I've got static dischargers made of wire that can be knocked rather than the pathetic moulded on plastic ones. It's the same with these here. I wish they'd given this to them separately. Even if they didn't make them out of metal, make them as plastic pieces that go in, because how they haven't got snapped I do not know. But this is like 1970s stuff here. I've also, in the tailplane or stabilator, I've drilled a hole in the middle there so I can stick it on a spike to paint it. So that's that. So you can see those photo etch pieces on there. The thinner one goes on the right, or the starboard side. The thicker one goes on the left. The thicker one is up, the thinner one is down. So this one sits up above the surface and this one sits down below the lower surface. Okay, so make sure you get those the right way round. So we're ready now to get that painted. So I'm going to get all of this primed. I've also gone around and primed and dealt with the seams on my pylons, so we can get those on as well. We'll have to get the sway braces on them as well, actually, before we paint them, so they'll all be painted in one. So I'll get on and get that done, and then I'll come back when we've got some more painting done. Okay, another day has gone by. We've now got the the whole thing is primed in black. I've gone around where there was a couple of bits and pieces, like here I had some bits of dust and that under there, so I've sanded those out. So we'll touch that when we do some more painting. Painted the tailplane, as you can see, glued on the mast on the back, and then gone round and dealt with some seam cleanup on the leading edges there. So that's all looking good. We fitted the sway braces, so they're on there, all nice and straight. So when you fit them, pay attention to the instructions, because you can see here that this one, has the two tabs facing that way, 49, 51. Make sure you put them on there, make sure you get them the right way around. And then you got this one, you've got the tabs facing this way, you've got 48 and 50, make sure they go on there facing the right way around. You can see when they're the right way around because there are two little nubbins on each one and they face inwards towards each other. So there you go. And they go into slots in there. So yeah, make sure you get them the right way around, otherwise they might not fit with your weapons and stuff. So that's all done. I've then gone on and built up these weapons, and I think I've still got a level of sanity left. This has driven me absolutely crazy. You've got 8 pieces of photo etch on each one, and there's 8 weapons. So yeah, real fun. But I just sat here, had some music on or whatever, and just did that. So that's all done. So now I've got the hangers, if you like, for these sway, I don't know what you call them, the mounts, whatever. So I've got all those off the sprue so we can get them all assembled. A couple of notes here, 30 and 32, make sure they use the right ones, because the end of them, they're sort of cranked around. So you've got these little pipes and they're cranked around, and they're going to go onto these little nubbins on the front here. So make sure you get the right ones in the right one. Basically the little, what look like little handles on the outside, little bicycle brake levers, they look like. In fact, I've got some flash to clean off of there. They face outwards, so make sure when you put these on they face forward, and I don't think you're going to be able to see it on the camera, but you can maybe just make out that where it's attached to the sprue, it comes round and it's kicked round. So we'll have to make sure we get that the right way around. So it's got to be facing forward and in, away from there. So basically that one's going to go in there like that, face inwards, and then these ones will have those ones. So make sure we get all that right. Then moving along, we're going to assemble these. You've got A38 and A37. You want to get them off the sprue because they're covered in sink marks. Well, mine were covered in sink marks and ejector pin marks. The way you can tell the difference, when you look at the smaller end, one has a wider tab than the other. So when you fit them in, you could put that one in there the wrong way around, but you won't be able to put that one in there because it's a small hole and a large hole. So there we go. So that's all that done. And then we've got those pipes going on, which are going to come up into the bottom of here, and they're going to go into those 2 holes there. So we'll glue those on and then quickly get it all together to make sure it all lines up. I'm not sure when it's all together if you have to do it like they're showing you here, if you have to physically put the weapons on first and then bring them up together, or if you can actually put them on once you should be able to put them on there once they're all together. So we can put that together, paint all that, build our weapons up, paint them, because we want them to be all slightly different colours and stuff, and then go from there. So I'll have to do some research on the colours. So I'm going to take a little break, get one of these built up, and then we'll come back and we'll build one up on camera. Alright, change of art, let's build one together. So let's get that up into there. So we just put a drop of cement in there, let it capillary around. Some in there, and some in the other side. That can capillary around. That can stay in there. Now if you want to, you could go around there with some super glue, get rid of that seam, but quite honestly it's going to be there, it's going to be surrounded by weapons. It's not going to be seen, so it's probably not worth doing. I may well do it just because I like to be fussy, but we shall see. In fact, these rails may well cover it up. No, they don't. But you're not going to see that when the weapons are on there anyway. So what we're going to do now is put a drop of extra thin on there, a drop of extra thin on there, and then that can go into there, just like so, making sure those little handlebars are sticking out. And then I'm going to just get my extra thin into here where I've been doing some sanding and get rid of that sanding marks and dust and everything. And then we can come along to the other side, do the same again. Drop on there and a drop on there. Grab one of these. There we go. Just push that down on the bench and give it a bit of a shove down. Get it all together nicely. And then I can see I've got a little bit of flash there. There's actually quite flashy, these rails. There's these little tiny bolt heads on the sides and there's flash all over them. So just run some extra thin over them. Get rid of the sanding marks. There we go. So that's that gone together like that. So as I say, we've got these pipes to go on. Now I'm just going to look. Okay, so that one's got the end turning that way. So that one's going to go on this side. So that's going to pop into there. And then we'll grab our tweezers. We'll just give that a nudge round. Again, this isn't shown at all in the instructions how this actually fits. You've got to work it out for yourself, and that's why I'm making these videos. Really, it's a guide. It's a guide to help you build yours. Okay, and then we'll do the same on the other side. Drop of extra thin in there. And then grab one on the other side. Make sure I've got it the right way up. In fact, we use the tweezers to put it in. And that can go in there. There we go. And then a drop of extra thin on there. I'm just going to have a quick look under the magnifier, just to make sure it's all good, and then I'll come back. And there we go, that's both of them built up, as you can see, and got the pipes on the front there connected on, so they all look good. One other thing, you saw me putting these together, I put drops of glue down in here to put these rails on. They don't actually sit down in those gaps, so just go around afterwards and put some on the outside and let it capillary in. They sort of, if that's the rail, they sort of sit in, they don't sit in, they sit on top of the two legs, so make sure you get that right. Right, so we've got here, we've got A15, and then we've got these here, and as I say, the difference is on the small end, one's got a wide tab, one's got a narrow tab, as you can see. So the wide tab is going to go here, and the tab faces forward. So the wide tab goes like that, in there. Excuse me, I've still got this bloody cold. It's really weird. It's 1 minute you feel okay, and then the next minute you got a stinking headache, and you're coughing and sneezing and blowing your nose, and then you're okay again, and then off it goes again. It's really strange. So we'll get that lined up like that. We'll get this one on the back here quickly as well. That one's going to go in that way. Okay. There we go. And then that has got to fit into the bottom of here, so we can make sure we get the spacing right. And that one doesn't want to go in there for some reason. It's like that slot isn't wide enough. Maybe this one's a bit better. What's wrong here? I don't think I've done anything wrong, have I? I'm not putting it together backwards. I haven't done anything backwards. Okay, maybe there's some flash in there that I missed. Just cut that open a bit on the sides. Nope, doesn't want to go in there, so what we'll do is we will take some material off the side of these pegs. Oh, it's all coming apart now. Urgh. So what we'll do is, on the other one, we'll do this before we assemble it. So that can go in like that. And now that one's going to fit in there, as you can see. Wow, that is a snug fit in there. Blimey, that is a snug fit in there. So there we are. We can check it's all square and everything, and it looks like it is. So now we know we've got those legs in there, glued at the bottom, not at the top. They're only glued in the bottom, remember. We just cut away that little bit of glue that's oozed out of there, because we don't like oozage, do we, guys? There we are, so that's going to go in there. I wonder if we can fit these weapons. Yeah, we'll be able to do that easy, so we can actually assemble these. So I think what I'm going to do is take that out of there. I'm going to remove, just going to sand some material from the sides of here, just so it goes in a bit easier. And then on this one, which one is it? It's the one with the wider end, the small end. So on this one, we'll just take a bit off of there, take a bit off of there, and then I'm going to come in with my knife and remove some material from there and some material from there before it's all assembled, and we'll just quickly check fit it. We can see now that's going to go in there lovely. It still needs a bit more off there. In fact, what we'll do is we'll cut some out of here. There we go. Now that should sit in there nice and flush. There we are. Perfect. So, all good. Right. So I'm going to put these pipes on here. So in fact, what we'll do is we'll put these together as well. So we'll put some glue on here. Plenty on there on a nice strong welded joint. That's the wide one. That's the narrow one. And then test fit, just to make sure everything's nice and square. And there we go. So take that apart now. We've got these pipes to go in. So we've got 28 is here, and 28 is going in this side. So 28 is going in there like that, and then 29 is going in there like that. It looks like 29. Okay, it's the other way round. So it looks like that one goes in front of that one. By the look of things. If you ask me, they go better the other way. So I'm going to put mine like that. And then one looks so much longer than the other. I wonder why. Okay, what we're going to do is just force it together. So that's going to go, that square peg's going to go in that hole there. I'm going to come up to the front and we're going to feed these pipes into these holes. Easier said than done. And just push it all together, just like so. And then I'm going to come along, excuse me guys, come along, put some cement in there. And then we'll just put some around those tubes. We'll make sure this bracket's in there good and solid, we don't want that falling down, do we? Push that together. And then if we just take something that we know is square, like a rule, what I'm going to do is put the rule flat on the bench and then butt it up against the ends to make sure they're level, so that everything's square and vertical. And then they're going to sit in the bottom of those pylons, like so, on those sway braces, and that's going to hang off the bottom of your little winglets. So you can see those pipes, there they are, you can see them in there. So they'll look great with a bit of detailed paint and some dry brushing or whatever, I'm guessing. I'll have to have a look at some close-up photos, see how they look. So I'm going to get the other ones put together and then I'll come back and see where we go next. Right, so we've now got lots of bits and pieces all painted black. I dealt with the seams on the back of there, got those painted black. These covers that go over the end of the rocket tubes, when you get to your rocket tubes here, you get the option of having the open front plate, actual rockets installed, or what I can assume here is like a FOD cover. Well, the actual front plate, do I have one here? Can you see it in the bag? No, but it's just literally, they're just very slightly recessed, so it doesn't look very realistic, because if they were empty they would be holes right through, but the back plate you don't get an option to not have one with holes, so so that's unfortunate. Then the one with the actual rocket sticking out looks a bit rubbish because it's just all moulded in one piece. So you've got this FOD cover which I chose, but what they're not telling you there is that this actually goes on top of that. So part A13 has to go on first, like you can see. There's the back, and then there's the front, and that's what I can show you because I've got it there. That's all you get, you see, and that doesn't look very accurate. So this piece here, this FOD cover, actually fits into that. Okay, so you need to fit that cover there and then put the cover on top. I need to look into what colours they are as well. Don't bother commenting down below because by the time you see this video it will be done. But thank you all the same. So I'll do some reference and stuff. I should imagine they're probably red. I would have thought it's like a remove before flight tag, which I want to actually cover this thing in, remove before flight tags. So we can get those crossed off now because we've done them. So we really are getting there. So what I want to do now is finish up the build. You can see on here I've got 4 clear pieces which are sprayed gold, and they are Q6. 1, 2, 3, 4, and they go on the nose pods here, here, and then they're going to go on the outsides of the wings there. And I looked online and I found images, and they look to have like it's like a clear lens with like a titanium gold coloured disc behind it. So I've just sprayed the back of them gold, and then we'll mask them with the art scale kit masks, and then when we take them off we'll just have a gold colour there. So yeah, coughing again there guys. Don't forget to draw those holes if you're having them in place. These G4 parts, they're off the sprue, they're ready to go. So I'm not going to add them yet because they're going to be little antennas sticking out of there that are going to get broken off. So let's go back to in the instructions where we've got lots of greeblies going on, and we can get them on now and we're good to go. And then I've got a bit of black paint left in the airbrush. Looks like we. Let me find it off camera rather than bore you with it, and then we'll go from there. Right, so as you can see here, step 12, fitting these little grab rails, foot rails, whatever they are. Absolutely crazy fitting them at that stage, so that's why I've left them right until the end. So we've got those there now. I've got the parts here, 35, 36, 37, 38 in order. So I've got them off the sprue, so I don't have to bore you to death with removing the sprue nibs and that. And what we'll do is we'll get these in. So 35 is going in there, and those holes are plenty big enough, so we get a drop of extra thin and it's just falling out again because those holes are so huge. Yeah, those holes are massive. That is the right part, isn't it? I'm guessing yes it is. So what we'll have to do here is get some extra thin on there. I'm not sure if they're holes I've drilled or not. I don't think they are, but whatever, they're too big. What I'm going to do, no I'm not, yeah I am, I'm going to cut. This is something you can sometimes do when you've got these little like grab rails or whatever, and they've got like a shape on the end of them. You can cut the actual pin off and let the shape become the pin, and that way it will fit a lot better into the gaping great hole that they've given you. There we go, as you can see now that's gone in there lovely. So just put a drop of extra thin in there just because it got a chance to dry out because I was messing around with it. So that's 35. 36 is going at the very back end, and again this one has got, you can see it's got pretty long pins on it. So we'll see what this one's like. Again, we've got great big holes, and that one's going in at a bit of an angle. So what I'm going to do here is once again remove a bit of that pin to let it go in a little deeper, and then this time I'll put a bit of cement in each hole and then drop this into those holes just like so. Give it a push and in it goes, and I'm sure it's supposed to be horizontal to the surface, so we can make sure it remains that way. And there we are, that's in there. Then we've got 37, which is right next to it, and I do believe this is going into holes I've drilled. I've done that wrong. 37 goes in there. 36 goes into those holes down there. I could hear you all then shouting at the camera. There we go, that's gone in there. And then this one, you can see on this one, you see, it doesn't have those pins. So this one is going to fit in here fine into those great big holes. So that's gone in there, drop of extra thin, just a tap. I'm not sure if that's meant to be horizontal or if it's supposed to be perpendicular to the surface. I'm guessing it's going to be horizontal. I'm just going to quickly check my references. Okay, yes it is. And then we've got the final one here, 38, which is going in those two holes under that door. And again on here we've got pins that I think are going to fit like a prick in a top hat. Yep. So I'm just going to cut the ends of those pins off, just the very end. And then they should fit a lot nicer. And obviously the glue in there will soften those pins and it'll all just sort of meld together. And there we go, and that one goes at an angle just like that. Look at these things just dying to get knocked off, aren't they? So that's that, and then we can move on to the other side, and we have these two parts here. Now there's this part here I've painted over it black. There's that little part there sticking out, and that is very, very strange because it's kind of, I don't know if you can see the drawing there, it's got two pins on the back of it, and there's two holes that you drill in the side of the fuselage, and there's those two pins that fit the hole perfectly. They're 0.7 holes when you drill them out. But why would you have two pins on a round part? I don't understand it, but they've done that, so I don't know why. When I took this part off the sprue, it broke, which is always the problem when you have very thin parts on a sprue, like here. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 injection points. So the plastic is rushing along here, it's rushing along there, it's rushing there, and it will meet in the middle of those places. And wherever it meets, if it started to cure, you get what's called a cold front, and it would be very brittle in that area, and it will snap very, very easily. So it's one worth remembering. It's like with that one there, I'll probably cut that off and put a piece of tubing in there. Probably put a piece of tube there and a piece of wire in the top, and then it'll be much stronger. That's the antenna that sits up in the back. So this here is going to fit into some holes we've previously drilled, and I'm getting to the point where I'm getting scared to touch this thing for fear I'm going to break something off. So there's some drilled holes in the fuselage. And this fits in those drilled holes absolutely beautifully. Look at that, it's perfect. So drop of cement in there, drop of cement in there, and a drop of cement in there, and then a little nudge. Just to get it all together nicely. There we go. Now this one here, as I say, it broke, so I don't really know what's going to happen with this. Let's give it a little test fit. It broke right where the tweezers are holding it now. So it looks like it's going to fit absolutely fine, but just going to put a drop in there. I've got a dirty great big mould seam on there. That is horrible. The other thing that's not very nice on here is that this shaft gets decidedly fatter at its end. So why have we got this great big shaft and a tiny little hole for it to go into? It's all a bit of a crazy design. So that's 0.86. So if I take a 0.8 drill, that's 1.2, that's 0.8, and offer it up to that, what happens? It opens it up. I hate these drills, they're horrible, these things. They are so aggressive, they just helix their way into everything. I'll just throw them away, they're absolute junk. Crap. Let's just grab a sanding stick. I'm trying to, you see what it's done? It's just literally just ripped that piece of plastic apart and turned it into like a big piece of orange peel. It's just, they're just so aggressive. So what I'm going to do is get a 0.8 drill. I'm going to drill a hole so that piece fits, and then we'll get a nice joint going on there. Okay, we got there in the end. Wow. I drilled that out 0.85, managed to get that in there, and then put this broken piece on there, got them to a line, drop of extra thin, and it's all gone together beautifully, but I can assure you that if we touch it, it's going to fall apart. So there we go, that's that done. So we're ready now to paint those black, and then everything will blend in. decals, putting decals on this is going to be an absolute complete and total nightmare because you can't handle it anywhere. So it's going to be a case of, I don't know, I might put some clamps on, like I said, and have it on the bench that way. So that's those done. Now going back even further in the manual, we've got more little grab rails to go on. As you can see, I mean, we've got grab rails and handles going here at step 5, and windscreen wipers. We can't put those on until after we've got the masking off. But yeah, this is just ridiculous fitting stuff like this at this point. So we've got that little one there, E28, and then we come over the page and we've got loads more bits and pieces going on here, you can see. So I'm going to get that done, get it all painted black, and then I'll probably get a bit of pre-shading done on it. Maybe we'll video that in part 10, but I think part 10 is going to pretty much see this, the main construction done, because I'm going to do all of this, get it all painted, get it all deckled and everything, and then we're going to work on the actual supports for the folded rotors, because I don't want to be handling it with all that on there, and also it'd be difficult to paint and weather with that all hanging on. So basically this is all ready to have all that fitted to it. The frame just sits on the back. I'll have to make up some tape straps or something because it straps on from underneath. You hear, straps on, and then go from there. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm not sure what we got covered in this video. It's been such a long time in the making, but I'll make sure it goes in the title. And I'll see you all soon for part, I guess it's going to be 10. I think this is part 9. Okay, so I know I said I was going to end there, but hopefully I've managed to edit it so I didn't say I was ending, or yeah, whatever. So we didn't end, we are still going. I just wanted to show you, I've done all the handles and everything, they're all on there. A little warning to you, when you look at some of these handles, like, you know that these back here, they had massive holes for them to go in. This one, I think all of these, they're the door handles, they were okay. So that one, and that one, there was no hole there. It's just like a tiny dent. So I drilled them out 0.5 just to be able to have something to locate them, otherwise they just get knocked off really easily. So they're done now. So they're all on. I fitted these end caps on the wings, as you've got the winglets, as you can see. The little whatever they are has gone on there with the little masks from the art scale kit set. So they're masked off now. So this can all get primed in black now, all those bits and pieces. In hindsight, I probably should have left this off because it's going to get broken. And as I said earlier, it's going to be a nightmare when it comes to doing decals and stuff. So I probably should have left that off. I've left this, there's a mast that goes on the top here. That one there, that's going in there. I've left that off because it's just going to get broken, because this is where I naturally pick it up, is here. So that's going to get broken. I've also masked off those clear bits on the side, just in case you wonder what I'm doing there. These here, whatever they are, I don't know what they are, but these go on. That's going to sit like that sort of thing on there. And I'm leaving those off for now because they're just going to get hit, not going to get knocked off. So I'll glue them on at the end. They go into the holes nicely, so so they'll fit fine. But the rest of it is obviously, it's all on there. So I'm going to go around now and just knock all that in with a bit of black paint, get it all one colour. If you wonder why I haven't put the weapons and the pylons on, I want to be able to paint them separately, because to get the paint up in there around those weapons and pylons would be a nightmare. And I know that I'll end up with thick paint, I'll end up with areas that are too green, I'll end up with areas that are black. I want it to be all blotchy, as I always do, as you know, but I want it to be sort of even. So we'll spray the weapons and everything separately. I'll probably glue the frames and the rocket launchers to the pylons. In fact, no, I won't, because I'll have them. They're all detachable, so they could be all sort of different shades and stuff. So we'll go for it. We'll go for that. So anyway, I'm going to get this painted black, and then I'll see you back soon for part 10, where we'll get some proper weathering and painting done and everything, or not weathering, but you know, effects to sort of make it look a bit old and worn. So I'll see you all back for part 10. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please hit the subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you all soon. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.